Podcast. My name is David, and I am flying solo today. My brother, or, the Dark Lord of the Sith, as he's generally called on this, or, whatever, co-host, he is not here. Life, all the life stuff you got to do when you're trying to be all adult-like is taking him away from the most important thing he has going on, which is clearly this podcast. No, the Darth is actually getting married, or as some people would say, throwing away your life. No, I'm just kidding. He is getting married though fairly soon. So I'm letting him, giving him a pass for now. I mean, I know it's a big deal to get this podcast done, and I'm sure the content will severely suffer without him here. Nah, but he's got a lot going on, and I want him to have the time to make sure everything's perfect for that. And once he is sort of back on normal track, he'll be back, and we will continue on with our awesome conversations that are totally not funded by Disney checks. So anyway, and that's a funny thing. I'll bring this up. I have a buddy of mine, Mike, who runs a podcast called Flying Casual. It's a Star Wars podcast, good guy. But I saw some comment that he had left on, I don't know, Facebook maybe. Just being excited for, what was it? Jedi Fallen Order, the soundtrack that was coming out. EA's releasing a soundtrack. And he was like, oh yeah, this is great. It's excited. But he had signed, I think was using the Flying Casual Facebook page login, and somebody came through. So you're now not a Disney shill, you're a Disney simp. Oh man, I love words that just get made up for stuff. It's interesting. So yeah, I guess we can't refer to ourselves as shills. That's not the cool hip word anymore, or so the kids tell me. Right, Zoomers. Yeah, I'm real hip. But anyway, oh, I'm a dork. So we're going to talk a little bit of Star Wars news, which really there isn't much. And, part of the reason, we even before the whole, wedding stuff really took hold of his entire life, my brother's entire life, we were struggling a bit for content because realistically there's not much going on. Everything's being put on hold by coronavirus. Or being pushed back, or they're not being very forthright with news. So it's been a bit of a dry, 3 months or so for news, and we were waiting for the Mandalorian trailer, season 2 trailer to drop. We haven't got that yet. Although we did just recently get the new Batman trailer, which, I see a lot of people saying it looks cool. I don't care about superhero movies anymore. I just got a little sick. I got a little sick of them, and I blame Marvel. I'm not much of a DC guy. I don't care about Superman. I liked Batman when I was a kid because there was the cartoon, and that was a lot of fun, but And also through the 90s, there were, Val Kilmer is Batman. I liked Val Kilmer, but Michael Keaton. I don't know. Maybe Michael Keaton might be the best one, I think, out of all of them. Of course, George Clooney's nipple Batman wasn't. That was a swing and a miss. And I think if I remember from the whatever the trailer or not the trailer but the talk of it, because I didn't watch the trailer, and so sue me. But I seem to have heard that it'll be the Riddler, and I always thought that the biggest disservice to a villain they ever did was not the Riddler. It was Mr. Freeze. personally, I always thought Mr. Freeze was the coolest villain. And I kind of wish they would somehow bring that back. Obviously, we had Arnold Schwarzenegger playing Mr. Freeze, and it was, it was just a weird time for movies. I think they also had Penguin in that movie, too, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. Anyway, I always liked Mr. Freeze, and I always kind of wish they would bring him back, but do him good, like good. Jim Carrey as the Riddler was fine, and because Jim Carrey's nuts, and the Riddler's kind of nuts, but I don't know. It might not even be the Riddler. I might be just telling tall tales because I didn't watch the trailer, and I don't really care to. Done with superhero movies, so sue me. But anyway, we do have a little bit of Star Wars news, and we also have some other stuff to go over. I had been doing a Power Half Hour, every week for not for very long, honestly, but I was doing that, and I was going over comics, and I like that. I like doing those. I don't particularly like doing the content alone because I like to bounce thoughts and theories off of, in my case, the Darth, who is the person to which I bounce theories off of on this podcast. But I figured what we do, because so ridiculously backed up now. There are like three active series or four active series. I was just going through stuff. I think there are like 3 or 4 active series going on right now, and I want to get back into them because they're continually coming out, and the stack only keeps getting bigger. So we are going to go through the first 4 issues that are out of the new Darth Vader comic, Dark Heart of the Sith. So yeah, that's going to be our big discussion here today. I figure that'll be kind of fun. Get back into just something core Star Wars. And, we'll see how that discussion goes. I'm not probably going to do some of my reads like we were doing for the Power Half Hour, but I'll probably still go through a little bit and, try and be a little bit more detailed into the comics. So I guess to get us started off here, I do want to talk a little bit about this Kathleen Kennedy interview that went on here in the past week. And I think one thing that people are like blowing up Twitter with, which doesn't make any sense because I feel like I already knew this information, but it's the deal where it's the Obi-Wan series is basically only going to be a season. And I kind of thought to myself, is that not what we all thought it would be? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of thought that was exactly what we all kind of expected. Was it to be very limited? Unless you want to do, Monster of the Week with Obi-Wan. Is he going to leave Tatooine all that much? I don't know. The premise of the show is kind of, I feel like the things that I want to have happen with Obi-Wan might happen, but I also feel like it has the distinct possibility of being a bit of a disappointment. And I really hope it isn't. I really hope that it lives up to what, the fans want with Obi-Wan and Ewan McGregor stepping back into that role. But it's always the constant of, that this could be disappointing. But I kind of expect to see interactions with Qui-Gon, maybe with Yoda, teaching Obi-Wan how to become, one with the living Force, and maybe some visions, and I assume some flashbacks. You know, there's still talk about Hayden Christensen coming back and reprising a role, which, I mean, it would have to only it would have to be flashback because he's not dead, so he can't contact him via Force Ghost, and if he was there currently, he'd be Darth Vader. You know, he wouldn't be Anakin Skywalker, so it would have to be some sort of weird vision-y thing, which I think would let people down a bit. But it would be nice to see Hayden kind of hopefully welcome back to a fandom that wasn't particularly kind to him until recently. So we'll see. But again, that wasn't the thing that interested me about this whole interview or whatever, because it doesn't matter. I mean, that's kind of what we all thought. So I'm going to read a quote here, and we will kind of dissect it a little bit. I don't want to spend too much time on it. Let's see. It's an ever-evolving process. Stories have been told within this universe for over the last 40-odd years, and there's now the realization that this is a mythology that actually spans about 25,000 years. When you really start to look at all the different stories that have been told, whether it's in books and games, we just need time to step back and really absorb what George has created, and then start to think about where things might go. That's what we've been doing, and we've been having a great deal of fun with it and meeting with lots of different filmmakers and talent. There's so many fans out there and so many filmmakers that have been influenced by Star Wars for so long. That's a fantastic opportunity to get a sense of who wants to be a part of this. So that's what we've been doing. Let's see here. And it kind of also has a very small couple sentences about, basically the kind of like making an MCU style universe on Disney Plus. It doesn't really have the setup for the question, but I assume it was something like, is that what you're thinking about? Or I don't know. I do, and I've already seen evidence of it, the ability to be very character-driven with extended storytelling, and connected storytelling. I think its space offers us a great opportunity to do that. So saying that about Disney Plus. So here's the thing. I don't necessarily know if all the brass at Lucasfilms particularly know 100% about how this entity that is Star Wars really needs to go. That is a pretty scary thing, because again, what I take from that big long garble there is essentially that we have to step back and evaluate what we're going to do going forward. So there's a positive here. There's obviously going to be more content. Also mentions that this mythology spans 25,000 years. So that also means that we could get a lot of past and a lot of future. But I think what they're trying to do is get away from the Skywalker timeline, because there's no way to fix it. There are a lot of people out there who are very intent on trying to fix this lineup. And it's done. It's over with. Disney is not going to reshoot 3 movies. They're not going to pop off an alternate like Star Trek timeline just because fans were really angry about the way Rise of Skywalker ended the series, or how The Last Jedi interpreted itself in the middle of the sequel trilogy. That's just not how these places do this sort of thing. Now, there are movies out there that do get remade. There's some that even get remade very soon after. One of the ones I can think about just offhand was let's see if I remember both of the movies' names, because it's very hard. It was Friends with Benefits and then No Strings Attached, and one had Natalie Portman and Kelso, Ashton Kutcher, and then the other one was Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis. I personally like the Timberlake Mila Kunis movie better, but they were the same movie, same premise, same movie. And even, what was it, Jean-Claude films, Van Damme films, Bloodsport, and, that's a killer, because I like them both. I'm not going to think about it. It's not coming to mind, but like Bloodsport was remade, and this sort of stuff does happen, but you're talking about a major movie. Like, this is like saying, we didn't like Age of Ultron, so we're going to just redo it. Can you see that happening? Because I can't. I really don't like the way name insert DC movie here. No, I'm just kidding. That doesn't work because they do that all the time. Oh God, DC does. I mean, Batman. I mean, how many different Batmans do we have? So at the end of the day, it's not going to happen with Star Wars. You're not going to get some rehash of what Luke's doing. I think what we really need is to have the years between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens to be explained through the eyes of Luke. That's what we need. And to be honest with you, I don't know if you can do that in movie form. I don't know if you could do that in TV form. I think it has to be done in book form. I gave a lot of praise to Alden Ehrenreich, who played Solo in Solo, because I really liked that movie, and I thought he did a good job of at least emulating Harrison Ford to the best of his ability. So if you could find somebody with some of that Mark Hamill swagger, I'm not opposed to it. And no deep fakes. That stuff is not at a point. I don't even want that to happen, because that seems so ridiculous. There's so many deep fakes out there. But anyway, I think that's what I want out of that timeline. The rest of it, I'm done. I don't really need a rehash, and we're not going to get it. So maybe we'll finally get the Old Republic, because that's something that I think a lot of people want. The High Republic seems fine, but I think that's just going to hold in book form. But I would like to see the Old Republic in movie form, or at the very least in Disney Plus form. I don't know. I could see a lot of things. I mean, Adventures of Lando, Calrissian, bring in Donald Glover. Gosh, I don't know. There's a lot more stuff. So, and you do see Kennedy here trying to be optimistic, trying to be, we've been having a great deal of fun with it, meeting lots of different filmmakers and talent, but I think that, whatever she says now, she's going to get backlash, because she has a ton of detractors right now. And I don't necessarily think that's 100% fair, but the thing is when you are sort of the head of something, or perceived head of something, whatever that might be, you're going to take the flack. You're going to take 100% of the flack, because you're at the top. So whether it's deserved or not, you're going to take the flack. So anyway, I think that's about enough with Kathleen Kennedy. I will just wait for the day when they just hand over the keys to Dave Filoni and just be done with it. Because that's about the only guy working there that I think completely understands not only George's vision, but how everything actually is. So that's enough of that. Let us go ahead and venture into the comics. All right, so issue 1, Lair of the Wampa. Now, these are taking place at the end, towards the end of Empire Strikes Back. We have some scenery here with Luke and Vader fighting on the bridge, cutting off Luke's hand, imploring Luke to join him. And then we have Vader going off on a solo mission. They had to they had to involve like a sassy droid. I get it, but I don't know if I like this droid at all. To be honest with you, I was a little bit annoyed with this droid. It kept interjecting a bunch of stuff at like times when clearly it just needed to shut up. But anyway, Vader does get a call from Palps. However, he's already gone, and I did want to point this out because I do think it's interesting. After I believe, Admiral Piet is telling Palpatine that Lord Vader's unavailable, and Palpatine's down here. Is he now? There's not much that escapes the Emperor. So Vader is effectively on a mission to... I think it could be debated, because obviously I think the implied goal here is that he's trying to kill off everything that he perceives makes Luke weak. So family, friends, attachments type of deal. But I also think that, he's kind of trying to learn a little bit more about this boy as well. So we do get Vader's return to Tatooine. There are a lot of flashback panels in these comics because this droid is constantly running like narrative, and this is they find the home of Klieg, and it was Klieg's, and then Owen and Beru's, and it's like, oh, this is home of Klieg Lars and his wife Shmi Skywalker, and then it shows her talking to little Annie, and then there's Owen and Beru, and okay, we get it. I kind of do like the part where he's in like Luke's little workshop, and he's messing around with his tools, and he flashes back to when he killed the Tusken Raiders, and he's chatting with Padme, and then a really neat sequence of panels here where you flash between Anakin is saying, they were like animals, and I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them. To be angry is to be human. And then it flashes to Yoda. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Padme, come away with me. Help raise our child. Leave everything else behind. And then to Anakin, we don't have to run away. Blah blah blah. And then to Luke, come with me. It's your only way. And then to Padme, I don't believe what I'm hearing. And then it kind of shows like Luke falling, and then it's Shmi, and then it's Padme. Now, one thing I will note that the animating of Vader, there are definitely panels where I think they stretch a little bit and almost give like emotions to the helmet, which is something that has always been ambiguous, but they kind of do contour it at times, like it looks like he's a little sad. Now he's a little angry without, the general realism of the fact that the helmet doesn't move. So anyway, they do find the gravestone of what would have been Shmi. The droid kind of I believe this is the grave of Shmi. The droid says, oh, this, could be Owen and Beru's. It's like, it's very clearly Shmi's. They show him at Anakin at Shmi's grave, and then we see some pirates who are basically attempting to jack Vader's shuttle, and some pretty epic panels here where they do shoot at the Imperials and Vader walks out of the flames, pulls down the shuttle, slices it a little bit, and then casually just kills all of these scoundrels, bounty hunters, whatever, before his death troopers come find him. This is another thing, interjecting of death troopers. So that's kind of neat. I do love them. And then we get a kind of an interesting little piece here on Coruscant where Vader goes into Padme's old quarters, which is like sealed by a giant, like frowny head of Padme. And again, some more flashbacks with Padme, and then they find a little transmitter, and wind up on the planet Vendaxa, where there's a Gungan, woohoo, getting attacked by some squid monsters. Vader shows up and starts hacking and slashing, and then he sees someone that he does not expect, a woman, and he says, "Padme, So basically, we're getting into a little bit of our handmaidens. So pretty recently, hasn't been that long ago, we did the review of Queen's Peril. Obviously, we did Queen's Shadow a long time ago. At least I think we did. I'm pretty sure we did. I know I read it. I really enjoyed it. I'd have to go back and look. Whatever. Anyway, I read both of the books, and Queen's Shadow definitely better than Queen's Peril. Queen's Peril's fine. It's a decent book, but Shadow was better. But at least in Queen's Peril, what we get is a lot more of the background of the bodyguards or the handmaidens. And this handmaiden is actually Sabe. So it's pretty cool. We're actually seeing what happened to them. But again, we do get some more flashback here of Anakin and Padme on. Wow, I am completely blanking. I hate remembering planets because I never seem to put them in my memory banks. It's in episode 2. You can yell it from the rooftops. Maybe I'll hear you. And I'll remember it after I shut the thing off. But basically, their battle with the 3 creatures. Again, just reminiscing of his time with Padme. I do like the animations on Sabe, though. You know, when he says Padme, you see her brow furl a little bit. But as soon as the droid, it's like, oh, yes, it's Darth Vader. And then she shoots at him. Vader takes her gun, chokes her a little bit. It is what it is. And then Sabe, of course, she was epic. And Sabe was also basically the Queen's closest handmaid. And they were all very close, but because they went through some turmoil together, and Sabe was the first handmaiden as well, they were just much closer. So Sabe likes to do. She also has like Padme's defiance too. So and we have flashback panels for each of these. So we have Queen, Senator, Daughter of Naboo, and back from the dead to haunt you to your grave. And then of course, and that was another mistake. Vader doesn't kill her though. She does, after he chokes her, throws her down. She does get away, and Vader has to hack a few more squids. They eventually do corner Sabe. And, Vader without he's being very vague, obviously, but he's not overly embellishing. But, he's like, oh, yeah, I'm looking out Padme stuff, she would have joined the Empire. And, Sabe is kind of like seems like she's buying what Vader's selling here. Actually shoots a squid that was going to attack Vader, and they kind of do a little bit of dual fighting here, back to back sort of deal, which was a really sweet panel actually. And then we run through this side by side Camino. No, not Camino. Dang it! What is that planet called? There's little flying bug guys. Wow, I cannot think of this planet. It's going to bother me. Whatever. I have a computer in front of me. But it'll come to me eventually. Like I said, after I'm done recording, it's fine. So, we have like these side-by-sides. So Padme striking that tiger monster. Sabe bashing a squid. Anakin and Padme side-by-side. And Vader and Sabe side by side, Padme looking at Anakin, and then Sabe also looking at Vader. So it's so nostalgic. It's hilarious. They do bury Sabe's compatriots here, the soldiers, and then Sabe agrees to join Vader to avenge Padme. That's what she's there for. Vader obviously has some ulterior motives, but that's kind of what Sabe is about right now. So moving on to issue 3. I don't know if I said this. There are 4 issues out so far. So we have 4 issues to go through. Vader on Naboo. This is pretty wild. So, oh my God, we have the whole, here, Padme, let me slice your pear with my force. So they do wind up going to the little retreat that Padme and Anakin went to and then subsequently were married at. And as they are looking around, they are attacked by Typho and Captain Tonra. So these are a couple of, the Royal Naboo security forces, but they were, close with Padme. So effectively what's kind of the lore for Vader here is that they're supposed to have some recordings from Padme's quarters that might provide some answers as to, who hid the child from Vader, who was working against them. And Vader's just ready to kill everybody, but, they kind of strike a deal. Okay, let's go find this, whole deal. Let's go find the recordings, right? So they wind up jetting off, and what did they call that in episode 1? Because it's the same little like submarine thing that Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Jar Jar rode in. I don't remember what it's called, but anyway, they're taking that through the planet core. I can't go that low. I might be able to if I tried. However, they are attacked by one of those little crocodile-looking fishes. And Kalo Claw. I actually say it, Kalo Claw. Good for you, droid. The one time you helped me. But it actually illustrates my point. So they're being attacked, and this droid is like giving a play-by-play about the flora and fauna of the freaking planet. And it's not really exactly accurate, but... Anyway, this creature bites into the ship. And one other thing here, you'll see some highlighted or some words in bold. So the Kalo Clawfish, native to the depths of Naboo, unusual to find them this close to the surface. Keep that in mind, folks. The ship is kind of destroyed. They're out in the water. Vader does Vader things by killing the Kalo Claw. And then they find one of those bubbles, part of the city of the Gungans. No Gungans, though, but they do run across the mural of Boss Nass holding up the crystal, and Padme and Obi-Wan and Anakin and Jar Jar and so on and so forth, just standing around, and even old Papa Palpatine back there. That was their peace treaty sort of deal. Sabe points out Anakin as a child with his sweet Padawan haircut. Little bit of dialogue from Sabe. That was Anakin, the Jedi that Typho mentioned. Even as a child, he served our queen. After she died, he vanished. We mourn his loss as we mourn hers. And obviously, Anakin to the handmaidens was, they knew. They knew. They were, and she's not really betraying anything here as well, but, they fought side by side and continued that. And they knew about the relationship. Let's not get it twisted. They were all very close. Come on. Vader is getting angry, though. They do wind up giving him the hollow. And it shows Sabe, it is time, friends, according to the biometric image analysis. That was the droid. That is Sabe, many years younger. Tonight we call ourselves Amidalians, And together, so original. And together, that's why she was always second best. And together we pledge to find whoever murdered our queen and kill them. And then Typho, so we swear. And you have our trio here just staring down Vader. I told you, Vader, the last time I saw Padme, she was heading to Mustafar to find Skywalker. Years later, we learned that Mustafar was your domain. You killed them, didn't you? Them. Very important. They have no idea that Vader is Anakin, and nobody does. But they're under the assumption that Vader killed not only Padme, but also Anakin. So this was the plan all along. This was the plan. The Kalo Claw. The Kalo Claw was, I think it was orchestrated. Now we have, it'll say in the next issue what the, that massive dinosaur fish that was, that it ate the Kalo Claw. I'll get the name in the next comic. I swear. They lured one to this Gungan place. And I think that they did the same with Kalo. They're trying to kill Vader. I mean, like, legitimately, the first time that Sabe sees Vader, she shoots at him, realizes that she can't kill him alone, so she works out a plan. She's very smart. All the handmaidens were expertly smart. And now we're luring them to Naboo. She sent the all-clear signal, and they still fired at Vader. Again, I think trying to test what they could do. This is a smart batch. Now it's like, I mean, come on. How does he survive the giant dinosaur fish? Like, literally, he's bigger than the bubble they're in. He would just eat it. Let's travel to issue 4, shall we? Oh, my goodness. And then again, the droid providing play-by-play. Sabe, your friend summoned this monster? What else could kill Vader? It'll kill you as well. If he murdered our queen, so be it. Vader does grab the droid. Typho and Tanra are both, firing off blaster bolts. Sabe, see, I almost called her Padme too, firing off blasters. Obviously, they can't defeat him with that. But Sabe, again, being very smart, shoots the platform Vader's on, snap right into our beast's mouth. He eats him. Vader has been eaten. However, the Death Troopers are in the shuttle. They shoot at the monster. It attacks the shuttle. Blam, blam, blam. Oh, wait, here's Vader, and kills him. Sando Aqua Monster, that's what it's called. See, I told you it was here. Now, if I can just remember that darn planet that is really bugging me still. Well, monster's down. But again, like, the planet's fighting back. So they're trapped in the Gungan bubble, little bubbles. And we have another blast from the past. Captain Rick Oli. Now, this was the pilot of the Naboo cruiser that Padme and the Jedi escaped on in Episode 1. This was also the one who kind of taught Anakin some of the finer points of flying. The nostalgia is real. It's pretty crazy. So anyway, he and a group of Gungans, there's like a Mon Cal, I would assume several citizens of Naboo here, go to attack Vader and the Death Troopers. Looks like they were able to take out maybe one or two of the Death Troopers, but Vader proves no match, and he stabs Oli in the shoulder, so presumably kind of dead. But as he's stabbing him, he does, say for Padme and for Anakin. So again, like, the Naboo loved Anakin in a way as equal as Padme. I mean, just think if he wasn't a Jedi and them returning to Naboo and living there, they would be heralded. I mean, they obviously helped rid the planet of the Trade Federation and of course through their deeds towards, even up towards the end of Padme's life, were legendary to the Naboo. It's like the dedication that the remnants of Alderaan felt towards Princess Leia. She wasn't the princess of anything anymore, but they always gave her that respect because she was their princess and she is their princess. Likewise here, they're fighting for Padme. They're fighting for Anakin. And of course, they don't really know what happened to Anakin. Finally, and this is where it gets epic. I actually really like this series. I'm looking forward. I really hate that everything was delayed, but I'm really looking forward to the next issue. So Vader does reach the tomb of Amidala, and then we get the remaining handmaidens, and this was epic. Again, we have them all lined up. A couple of them with staffs and blasters, and you get a flashback of like Queen Amidala with her handmaidens. You will not desecrate this grave, so swear the handmaidens of Amidala. And then the droid, of course, doing running commentary. Checking my databanks. Irte and Rabe, two of the Queen's earliest bodyguards. Sashay, heroine of the Naboo resistance, tortured by the Trade Federation, which Sashay was awesome. I could use some Sashay stories. And then, again, they're flashbacking panels here to various times where Anakin is specifically remembering these handmaidens, walking with them. And then they also have a panel here of the funeral pyre of Qui-Gon, which I thought was really neat. And Dorme, Senator Amidala's closest attendant during her early days on Coruscant. And then, kind of her talking to her, and Dorme as the queen for a minute talking with Anakin. So it's pretty crazy, but Vader here, and he says it too, it's like he's there's a struggle here because he is remembering the stuff. So he's like, if you wish to leave now. So the funny thing is the Anakin side is starting to show here. And this is the side of Vader that Luke saw and wound up, I don't want to say exploiting, but that's what happened, getting in touch with. But these handmaidens are the epitome of loyalty to Padme, so they begin to fight Vader. And again, through this fight, you have panels. Are you an angel? Oh, God, I wish they would have done that. You're making fun of me. God, Sasha, she's sweet. And again, just these cries from his past. Even a panel with Amidala saying, "Let me help you," as he then kind of chokes all of her handmaidens out. And the droid here is even saying, it's like, well, they seem pretty determined. Maybe you should finish the job. And he flings the droid. He's just tired of it all. And then he walks into the tomb and confronts a relic of his past. The little necklace. I just kicked something under my desk. Geez, hope that didn't pick up. Not editing. But the little necklace that he made as a young child for Padme. I made this for you so you'd remember me. So as a remembrance, because he knew he was, going to be going off trying to be a Jedi, and he didn't want Padme to forget him, which obviously she wouldn't. And then echoing in Vader's mind, you have these little black panels. I haven't really pointed these out throughout the comics, but he does have these almost like an inner monologue with red text, and he's like, I made this. Shows the dead creature, Oli in the battlefield with, the dead soldiers. I'm sorry, my queen. The handmaidens kind of bowed their heads, kind of knocked out. And then another black panel for you. And then Sabe crawling forward, are you done? And Vader, of course, says no and opens the tomb. Man. So the next issue is, I want to say not out until September, maybe mid-September. I want to say it's funny because obviously this is a thing that kind of irritates me. These comics were obviously drafted because the next panel here is for the next issue, the cover, and it has an old date on it. It has an old date. So it's just like, stop playing with me. You had these. You could have shipped them. No, I get it. COVID happened. We know. We all know. I'm very much entranced by this novel, not only because you're getting more of Vader, but you're getting more of those who are closest to Padme. And I always felt that Padme was one of the more interesting characters in the entire story. And I really think that the way she went out at the end was very wrong. I didn't like her death as much. It didn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, it does and it doesn't. It does and it doesn't. But I wish that there were more. And I'm glad that the Queen's Peril and Queen's Shadow novels were able to be written. I'm glad that those were put out there because I do like hearing Padme stories. I don't know why. I mean, you always latch to certain characters. Obviously, like Qui-Gon was big for me. Han Solo was big for me. But Padme was also big for me. And yes, part of it was because she was played by Natalie Portman, who I had a huge crush on back in the day. But I always just think of that character, and I think that there's so much more to her. There's so much more than, and I think a lot of people understand that. But she's just badass. So anyway, now we're getting the handmaiden side. We're getting this last act, and obviously, what is Vader going to do once he enters the tomb? What's going to even be there? You know what I mean? And are we going to see the potential conflict that winds up turning him in the next movie? Because again, this is between Empire and Return of the Jedi. So are we going to see that conflict that ultimately, is this... The question is, if this doesn't happen, okay, this here in this comic, and I can't speculate too much because obviously we're not there yet. But first the question, does this turn into a conflict that eventually turns him? Or is this not that significant? Or if it never happened, would he have potentially never turned or something like it's hard to tell. But again, this is his wife. These were his dear friends that he's dealing with now. He killed one of his friends. I assume Oli's dead. I'm not laughing really, but I assume he's dead. He was stabbed in the shoulder. And he's killed a lot of people. He's killed a lot of friends. And I mean, Oli wasn't, let's not act like they were best friends, but I mean, there was moments there. He clearly remembered it, obviously, and it was in the text here. But the handmaidens are something a little different. His wife is something different. Maybe this is the explanation that we needed to see the turn and why the grasp of the Emperor didn't really keep hold when his son was in trouble. So it's an interesting comic. It's an interesting story to tell, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Like I said, I read these, but I'm very lazy about doing the episodes because it's kind of hard just doing solo shows. But I think I've talked long enough on this one. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that. Obviously the Darth will be back eventually, but I'm probably going to continue to go through some more stuff because we have the main Star Wars line that was restarted. That's on comic 5 or 6 now. And then we have the restart of the Afra storyline as well. So we're going to go through those probably over the next couple weeks. And once the Darth is safely back in reality, we can we can continue our podcast, and probably again we're definitely going to be focusing a little bit more on literature because that's what we have. Thrawn is going to be coming up. I don't know if he's going to read that, but I will. So there will be probably an episode on Thrawn, and much more. So thank you guys very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. If you'd like to support the podcast, you can check us out on Patreon. If you'd like to, let me know what you thought of this comic, you can send an email to tcplanpodcast@gmail.com, hit us up on Twitter at tcplanpodcast, or find us on Facebook. That's about it. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And as always, may the Force be with you.